Hi friends, today our story is called The Mitten, and I have some things that I made and I want to show them to you. I want to angle that down a bit, just a hair. Yeah, these are called story stones, and for every part of the story I have, or every animal in the story, I have a stone. So I'm going to show you. First, there's the little boy in the story, and we're going to find out what his name is. Then, this one has a white mitten. This one has an owl. And this one has a bear. This one has, you know what? Look at that. It's black and white, so it kind of looks like a skunk, doesn't it? But actually, it's called a badger. Badger. Well, I bet you know what that is. That's a mouse, isn't it? And this is kind of like a porcupine, but it's called a hedgehog. Say hedgehog. Yeah, that's a hedgehog. This one is a special kind of rabbit. It's called a snowshoe rabbit. And this one is a mole. Now a mole is a little bit like a mouse or a gopher. It lives underground. It has a long skinny nose. Mole. And I bet you know what this is. It's a fox. Right. So this story, each time we get one of the characters in the story, I'm going to hold up the story stone so that you kind of know where we're at. And then we'll count them when we're done. This is called The Mitten. Do you remember when we read the gingerbread baby story? Well, Jan Brett wrote that story, and she wrote this story too. And you'll see some things that remind you of that story. The Mitten. Once there was a boy named Nicky who wanted his new mittens made from wool as white as snow. So let's see. Here's Nicky. There's someone in this picture. See, the thing that Jan Brett does is she does little clues. Someone there. Can you tell what kind of person that might be? Someone in his family. Yeah. Let's find out. At first, his grandmother, who was called Baba, they called her Baba, did not want to knit white mittens. If you drop one in the snow, she said, you'll never find it. But Nicky really wanted white mittens, and finally Baba made them. Here's the white mitten. After she finished, she said, when you come home, first I will look to see if you are safe and sound. But then I will look to see if you still have your mittens on. Well, off Nicky went, and it didn't take long until one of his new white mittens dropped in the snow and was left behind. Now, it's going to be super hard to see it. I'm going to put my finger right where it is. And there's the mitten. It looks just the same color as the snow, so you can see how hard it is to find it. And there's an animal in the clue box. It's a mole. Say mole. Mole. Oh. A mole, tired from tunneling along, discovered the mitten and burrowed inside. It was cozy and warm and just the right size, so he decided to stay. There's the mole. Now, if we look in this mitten, we're going to see another clue. Oh, remember I said that's a special kind of rabbit. A snowshoe rabbit came hopping by. He stopped for a moment to admire his winter coat, and it was then that he saw the mitten. Oh, and he wiggled in, feet first. The mole didn't think there was room for both of them, but when he saw the rabbit's big kickers, he moved over. Oh yeah, he did not want to get kicked, did he? Now let's look here. This is called a hedgehog. A hedgehog is a little bit like a porcupine, except it has softer needles. The porcupine needles are very sharp. We don't have hedgehogs around here, maybe in the zoo, but most people don't have hedgehogs. Next, a hedgehog came snuffling along. Having spent the day looking under wet leaves for things to eat, he decided to move into the mitten and warm himself up. The mole and the rabbit were bumped and jostled, but not being ones to argue with someone covered in prickles, they made room. Look at the mitten. Something is happening to it. It is getting stretched and bigger, isn't it? Because all the animals are going inside. Now look at the animal that's coming next. As soon as the hedgehog disappeared into the mitten, a big owl, attracted by the commotion, swooped down, and when he decided to move in, also, the mole, the rabbit, and the hedgehog grumbled. But when they saw the owl's glinty talons, that's his claws, they decided to make room. I would do that too. That sounds kind of scary. Let's see what's here. Oh, this is that animal that looks a little like a skunk. It also lives underground. Right now it's under a tree. It's called a badger. Badger. And he's coming next. Up through the snow appeared a badger. He eyed the mitten and began to climb in. The mole, the rabbit, the hedgehog, and the owl were not happy. Because there was no room left. But when they saw his strong diggers, they gave him the thumb. Oh, now look what's coming next. It's a fox, isn't it? It started snowing, but the animals were snug and warm inside the mitten. A waft of warm steam rose in the air, and a fox trotting by stopped to investigate. Just the sight of the cozy mitten made him feel drowsy. That means tired, doesn't it? The fox poked his muzzle in. When the mole, the rabbit, the hedgehog, the owl, and the badger saw his shiny teeth, they gave him lots of room. Look at the mitten. It is getting so big and so stretched out. Oh my goodness, now what's coming next? A big brown bear. Oh, and guess what? I think, nope, I see the bear. A great bear lumbered by. He spied the mitten all plumped up. Not being one to be left out in the cold, he began to nose his way in. The animals were packed in as tightly as could be, but what animal would argue with a bear? The mitten swelled and stretched. It was pulled and bulged to many times its size. But Baba's good knitting held fast. Look at that. Can you believe the bear got in that mitten? Doesn't seem like it would be big enough, does it? And now there's just one little animal coming, and it is a tiny little mouse. Oh, and look at Nikki. Nicky just realized that he lost a mitten. Uh-oh. Remember what Baba said? Yeah, she's going to be looking for him to come back with his mittens. I bet he's worried. Along came a meadow mouse, no bigger than an acorn, super tiny. She wiggled into the one space left and made herself comfortable on top of the great bear's nose. So, Nicky is wondering where his mitten went. We know, don't we? Oh, the bear was tickled by the mouse, and he, achoo, let out a giant sneeze, and all the animals flew up into the sky and scattered in all directions, and the mitten flew way above them into the sky. Now, meanwhile, Nicky is on his way home, isn't he? He's on his way home. On his way home, Nicky saw a white shape in the distance. It was his lost mitten silhouetted against the blue sky. Here it is. I bet he wondered how it got there. As he ran to catch his snow-white mitten, he saw Baba's face in the window. First, she looked to see if he was safe and sound. But then she checked to see if he still had his mittens. And did he have both of them? He did. But there's something funny at the end. Look at. Baba looks confused. One mitten is regular size and one mitten is gigantic. I bet she's wondering why that one's so big. Do you know why it's so big? If you think you know, you can say it right now. And I'll give you a minute. When wool and things made with yarn get stretched harder and harder and harder, sometimes they don't go back into the same shape. So it got stretched and stretched and stretched with all the animals in it, and then it stretched it out and made it big, didn't it? And then, poof, it didn't get small again. It just stayed very large. But the other one had not been stretched out because no animals were in that one. This is a fun story, and I'm glad you could listen today. I hope you have a great day. Bye-bye. Thank you.